Good morning, you're watching Morning at NTV. Just before the break we looked at Levickson, another one, and they're talking about from street to grace. Levickson is one of the few who actually get to tell a story and say, this is what the streets look like. For me, they were home at some point, that kind of home. And today I have a chance at life, a chance at every other human right that I should have. And I'm going back to the streets and making sure that, my brothers and sisters who for a long time were just that. My brothers and sisters also get a different life. But depending on where you live, you have definitely encountered street children. Some of us scorn at them. You're driving and you could care less to know their story because you have a warm bed to go to, you have a warm food plate to go to later on. You have a life. You are educated. You don't really care. I think for you to understand the plight of street children, you need to know where they come from, why they ended up on the street. It's definitely not by choice for the biggest percentage. We have a young population, very young population, and we also have poverty, we have neglect. So how do you round that up and not worry about the fact that the street children are there and that the number is growing? From Shule Foundation, I have the CEO, Jackie Wolfson. Good morning.
Good morning.
You have a beautiful story, and I shouldn't keep it to myself.
Thank you.
So for people they're thinking, street children, you have Jackie? How? First of all, we need to do more. But I'm glad that someone is doing something in the first place. So, Jackie, what's your story before we get to Shule?
I've been coming to Uganda since 2008. Been working in villages, met lots of children who have just impressed me by their academic capabilities.
Right.
And so over the years, I've been coming back, and wanted to do something in education. And then in 2016, we decided to throw a Christmas party in the slum of Kisenyi.
Okay.
And that was my entry.
Had you been to Kisenyi before?
Never been.
That was your first?
Okay, never been to Kisenyi.
First glance, what did you think?
Wow. My gosh, this is a whole different universe.
Yes.
You walk in and you have these kids who are just sniffing petrol. They're thin, they're dirty, but they have the biggest smile on their faces, right? And they are so inquisitive and so kind. And next thing I know, they have my cell phones and people are telling me, get your cell phones back. But the kids were just taking pictures, and I just felt comfortable knowing these children weren't running off with my phones.
That wasn't a worry at all?
It didn't cross my mind. It really just didn't cross my mind. They were got so much joy and pleasure out of taking pictures that I thought, I'm going to have some really great photos after
at the end
this.
of the day, yeah.
And some kids would always be watching me when they saw a look on my face as if I was maybe getting a little concerned.
Yes.
Somebody would be like, Auntie, your phone is here.
Oh,
like, don't worry, don't worry.
Great.
And that day, December 22nd, has changed the trajectory of my life.
Okay, so you see these children, and I know you said that you wanted to really do something in education, but when you saw them that day, your worry wouldn't have been education. You were looking at them and seeing so many needs. How do you then zero down to just education?
Because the only way out is education.
Yeah.
And when I go around and I see during the middle of the afternoon a child walking around and they're not in school, that just pains me. Yeah. And then you see these children who are sniffing petrol, who are just disregarded, and yet are really smart. Really smart.
And this is from your interactions with
them.
them.
Because they know. One kid's telling me the laws, the child protection laws.
Really?
And he's telling me all these things, and yet nobody's protecting our laws, Auntie. So it's amazing because there's so much potential that is sitting there in the slums. Just a great deal of potential. Mm-hmm. These kids are hardworking. Yeah. People think they sit around, but they spend their days collecting plastic bottles and scrap metal to make money. Mm-hmm. A lot of them came to Kampala to make money to go to school.
Didn't find a job.
They didn't find a job, but I think what happens too is they hear about the big city,
yes.
They enter. You're talking about children who are 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. They come and they realize, they're not quite sure how to get back.
Yes.
And next thing you know, somebody's offering them a bottle of petrol to sniff. And I like to say they went down the rabbit hole.
Let me ask though, I mean, apart from the fact that we're going to discuss that, you know, the family unit not protecting children for them to get on the streets, but is that there too where children are lured to the streets?
Oh yes, there's a great deal of peer pressure.
Whoa.
Let's go to Kampala, let's go to Kampala. We have kids, I grew up in a very small town in New Jersey, and I knew I never belonged in that town. I knew I belonged outside that town.
Okay.
You have village kids who are not meant to be village kids. Right?
They're dreaming.
They're big. They're like,
Yeah.
I'm in the village. I'm digging. But no,
my life.
I'm supposed to be in the nightclub, right? I'm supposed to be
somewhere
else and not here.
Yeah.
The difference between them and me was I knew I had to stay home because I had loving parents who were providing for me.
Yeah.
And when I hit 18, then I knew I could make my own decisions. These children are living in homes where they're not eating, they're not going to school, they have parents who might not want them, they have parents who, you know, don't know how to really discipline a 6, 7, 8-year-old. And then you have peer pressure, right? Your friends are like, hey, I'm going to Kampala, why don't you come with me? A lot of the kids who we've met, when you ask them where their friends are, they're like, oh, they went home like 2 days later. They brought us, we all came together and then they realized this is not the place for us, and a lot of them went home. So it's so complicated why they go.
Okay, so you see them in Chisenyi at that Christmas party, which I'm sure went well.
Yes, it was very fun. It was really fun.
So you walk away and say that shouldn't be the end.
No, and it sort of became like an addiction. Like I just kept wanting to go back. So every moment I had, that's where you would find me. You would find me. And just over the course of time, relationships built with these kids.
Right.
You start to hear their stories. Some of them are not, you know, not so true, but
Okay.
so.
But you know, for a Ugandan to walk into Chisenyi or whichever place where there's street children and sit with them and interact with them, we would still find a challenge. We would not have a very open mind to it, because you would say, okay, am I going to be safe? Will I have an open, you know, conversation with these children? You weren't afraid of any of this, or did you have some form of support or friends here in Uganda who helped show you around?
I had a friend who would go with me, but I never felt unsafe. Because the minute you get those kids to trust, now it wasn't about me getting them to trust me.
Okay.
I mean, me trusting them. It was about them trusting me.
You.
And once they see your sincerity,
Okay.
then you know, it was like I had my own personal army.
When they see you, it's
yes. They come, they'll carry my bag because they're like, Auntie, you can't carry your bag. If you know, it's like a protection. It's truly a protection. And once you have that, and once word gets out too, you know, nobody really will do anything. So even to this day, I feel like I can walk through Kisenyi by myself and not have a problem.
So is that how Shule was born?
No, Shule was born because I met an 8-year-old kid in 2008 who read a book to me.
Whoa.
When I first came here, I was volunteering for an organization in Uganda, and I came with that vision that, you know, every child, protruding bellies, you know, everyone's starving, no one's educated, flies in the mouth.
The picture that everyone sells.
Everyone sells, right?
Uganda.
And all the kids in the village don't know how to read or whatever. And this kid, Alex, who I must say is graduating secondary school and wants to go to university to be an attorney, took a book from me and read it.
And he was 8?
He was like 8 or 9, I think, at the time, and it's called The Giving Tree. And I literally sat in awe, and it just got me thinking, oh my God, there must be millions of Alexes out there.
Who can read.
Who can read, and who should deserve an education. And that's how Shule was born.
Okay, so Shule, that's 2008 till today.
Yes.
So tell us about what you've been able to do, because of course your vision at the start and now, a few things have changed over time. So tell us from the beginning till today.
So the idea started with Alex in 2008. Shule did not come to be until December of 2014.
Okay.
It was based on building schools.
Oh, okay.
And it was a model that I was thinking about. It's still, the model is still there, but it just became a shift.
Okay.
From going into Kisenyi.
So what is it today?
So today it's still education based. It's still about building schools, but now what I've seen and learned from the kids that we are dealing with is when you send them back to school, A lot of them have aged out of the classroom.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is that the kids that we started working with, I thought I was getting 9, 10, 11-year-olds,
Yeah.
right? Because they're starving and they're small. Well, you realize they're 14, 15, 16 years old when you start to feed them and they start to grow. But a lot of them have a P1, P2 education level.
Okay. So at 14, taking them to P3,
And it depends on the ability of the child to be able to enter a class at P3, which is what we have.
Okay.
So one of the kid who inspired me to start this particular program, Otwomittani program, is this child named Ashraf.
Yes, actually, I don't know if my director has that. We're going to see a picture, as of course you explain, Ashraf before and after.
That's Ashraf's last day on the street.
Last day on the street.
That's the last day on the street.
He already knew you at this point.
Yes.
You were already friends. There was a hope.
That was the boy who inspired me to do this, because he asked me to help him get off the street.
Oh, wow.
And so the whole thing was started because I made Ashraf a promise that I would get him off the street.
What was his story? Why did he, first of all, how did he end up on the street? And then why was it so moving for him to want to leave?
Ashraf is a true street child. If you talk to his mother, the mother tells you he left home at 5. He tells you he left home at 6. And that's a picture of
him
Ashraf
now,
today. He's
in school.
He's 16.
Healthy.
In a class out of 77.
Wow.
In P4.
Wow.
So we're very proud. We're really, really proud of Ashraf. Ashraf left home. He lived on an island in Jinja.
Okay.
And this 6-year-old boy got on a boat and left alone. And he came to Kampala, and he's one of the few kids who has never really been in anyone's home. Okay. He's never been sent to school, because there's a lot of organizations that come in and will take the kids off the street and try to rehabilitate them
into different homes
and resettle them and stuff like this. But Ashraf is your quintessential street child. That's where he's been. Mm-hmm. Very addicted to drugs. Great personality, though, and he's very well known in the street. And so every time we go back, people will sit there and say, "Where's Movado?" And you show.
Oh, is that him?
That's him,
okay.
Right? That's him. And and when you show a picture, and we use it to inspire other street children.
See, this is the difference that can happen in your life.
This is the kid that nobody thought this could happen to. And so we use his face all the time.
Isn't there a challenge, though, when you get someone like Ashraf, who you said is the typical street child, raised by the streets, hasn't been in any home, so hasn't gotten any different, is being raised by the street? Don't you have trouble the first time, the second time? Did he stay?
See, Ashraf was a really interesting challenge, because I think by the time we had built such a trust and such a friendship, and when he got to the house, while all the other kids are deciding, saying, "I'm going back to the street, I'm going back to the street," Ashraf is the kid who's telling you, "No matter what you do to me, I'm not going back to the street."
Wow.
And he's worked really hard
to stay out.
He's worked really hard, and that's what people have to understand. These kids who are transforming, it's them who's doing the work.
Yeah.
We're helping them, but it's them who should be applauded for really putting in the effort and struggling and dealing with trying to change a life, because you're dealing with children who have lived on their own. They have no rules. They don't have to answer to anyone. Even though they're children, they have the mentality of adults, because
survival.
Because you have to survive.
You have to survive. Tell me some of the reasons you heard of. I know you've talked so much about the family unit, and I want us to break that down. But why you heard maybe some of these young people that you talked to, how they ended up on the street? It can't just be I had dreams to come to Kampala.
It's all different reasons. It's like we said, it's abuse. It's parents who have gotten divorced and taken on new husbands and wives, and they don't want the children. Yeah. It's peer pressure. It's not being in school. People hear if I go to Kampala, I can make money. Actually, not people, but children. They hear if I go to Kampala, I can make money. It's all different.
What about
reasons.
The girls? I worry for the girls.
The girls, it's really hard. And some of the girls we've met, they were married off at 16, 17 years old. They have husbands that are abusive, so they ran away from home. You have a couple girls we met, their mothers have passed, and they feel like the family didn't want them around. It's just every child's story is different. And the only way you can help a child is by learning their story and realizing why that individual child left.
I think we're saying that it's wrong for government or any security agency to say, let's take them off the street and have one solution, because to have one solution would mean they have the same problem. Yes. But they don't, you know. And I was telling you that off air, that I was saying that one of the painful situations when I see a girl on the streets and she's a teenager, for example, I worry about things that probably to some people they might not think hard about, like their monthly period. When it happens, what then? You know, who's there to guide them? They're guiding themselves on the streets. They're survivors. Where can I sleep? What can I eat? But there's also that worry. Yes. You know? And you were telling me that it's even worse because they have to use whatever they find on the streets, on the garbage, and they don't even have something as small as knickers.
Yes. Yes.
So they don't even have where to start. You're worrying about sanitary towels, but then they're worried about knickers in the first place. So it's terrible. So tell me, this Otwomittani, what's that project?
So Otwomittani is Swahili for street kids.
Okay.
And so that project is geared towards children who live on the street and trying to identify those who are ready to transform.
Okay.
You detox them, you counsel them. You know, there's a misconception these kids don't really have families. But
they do have families.
They have families. They have families. They tell you they don't know where their families are, but over time,
they open up.
They open up. One kid took us to the top of Mount Algon.
And so that's where their parents are? Okay.
And luckily they were there.
Oh, they were there?
No, they were there.
Okay.
He knew, and we went home, and as we're driving in the car and he's directing the person, I said, but this kid told us he didn't know where he came from. And that's when I learned they all know where they come from.
Okay, so then you take them back, not all of them, I'm guessing.
Pretty much every child we've dealt with. One we haven't taken home because he's from the Congo, and we're still trying to figure out.
Okay, so that's the only case.
But otherwise, everyone else.
So for the cases that have actually gone back home, and I think you told me the other day that some of them come and go.
Yes.
For the process to happen. But tell me how that process starts. Do you go to the families first and say, we have so-and-so who is saying this is your child? I mean, how does that process go?
Well, what we do is we actually take the children with us because they help us navigate where they come from.
Okay.
And we've had amazing receptions. We had a woman who danced for 10 minutes screaming.
After seeing their child.
After seeing her son. We had a boy who, we've had 2 kids that we've taken home and the families thought they died. One thought the kid was child sacrificed by the father.
Whoa.
The other family was told that he fell off a lorry and cracked his skull. And so we go back and we have a conversation with the families, we have a conversation with the communities to figure out when the kid actually left, maybe why the kid actually left, all of those kind of things. And then we start talking with the families, and then we start to make arrangements for the kid to go home for a small period of time. Then the kid comes back, and we go back and forth, and over that period of time, they build this bond. And you have some kids who just dive right in and want to go home and stay at home. And then you have others that, you know, we're still building that relationship
with their families.
But the cool thing is there's not a day that doesn't go by that a kid doesn't say, "Can I call my mom? Can I call my Can I call my dad?" And they talk on the phone, and we have this connection. The parents come now to see them, and the parents are participating in their child's life.
Okay, so there's a drop-in center and transitional home. These are not the same.
Yes.
So just explain that to us.
So a drop-in center is a center that's within the slum, and that's a place where kids can come and they can get 2 meals. Okay. They can get counseling. We play games. We offer other sort of educational programs. We're starting next week to teach children how to make shoes, all these different things. And you start to have conversations with the kids, and you start to identify the ones who are ready, who are looking to transition, who have now been tired of a street life. And so, and what you also do is you create this rule that you can't sniff. So the kids can't bring their petrol with them.
Or any drugs.
Or any drugs whatsoever, but it's pretty much petrol.
Yeah.
And then you start to try to get them to say, well, now you need to stop sniffing petrol. So you try to get them to do the work already on the street. And then the transitional home is the next step where they can come and then they get more counseling, the detoxing, and that's when they get better education. They go to school classes all day for literacy and mathematics. And then over that period of time, that's when they start to see all the other kids are talking to their families.
Okay.
And it sort of becomes contagious. And next thing you know,
I see my
I want to go home.
family?
I want to go
Okay.
home. Everybody wants to go home.
Can we find my parents?
Yes.
Or can we find family?
And then the stage after that is getting them back into some form of education, technical and vocational training, or formal education, depending on the child, and getting them home.
Okay, so you have something big
Yes.
happening soon. Tell us about that.
We're very excited. So the Princess of Africa, Yvonne Chaka Chaka, is coming to celebrate our year anniversary of this particular program. She's coming to perform. She's coming back to Uganda. From what I hear, she hasn't been here in a while.
Yeah.
And so we're having a concert at the Serena Hotel on July 20th. And she will be performing, and your funny man, Salvador, will be our MC. And we have special guests, Bobby Wine, and we have some other little surprises that will be there the night of the show. And for VVIP guests, we're having a intimate meet and greet reception the night before with Yvonne Chaka Chaka. That's been hosted by Skies Hotel.
Okay, great stuff. So I'm guessing this is one of the ways you actually, apart from celebrating the 1 year,
Yes.
some proceeds will go into helping some of your projects as well.
Yes.
But let's talk about funding, just in case someone is watching and saying, oh, how can I be part of this?
Yes.
How can I help Jackie? How can I, what ways do people help out?
So the ways people can help out is, of course, donating money. We're looking to build a school that actually targets kids who have aged out. So kids who are 14, 15 who need to be in P1 can be in a classroom of their peers instead of
It's not favorable for them to go to the other schools.
Yes,
schools.
because they get bullied by the younger kids, they get bullied by the teachers. The teachers actually don't know how to handle a teenager being in P1. They look down at them as if they're stupid, and so it's not a very conducive learning experience for them. So that's what the school is. But ways to help is, of course, money. Money is always good. People's time, effort, food. Going back to what you said, bring underwear. Like buy
simple things.
Like simple things. Buy underwear, buy sanitary pads. We can distribute them for you.
Yes.
Even for the boys' underwear, shoes. Shoes are really, really important. But all, any way that you can think about, anybody who, teaches art, teaches music, teaches dance.
Can offer time.
Offer time. And it's just, your life will change if you get to know these kids.
Okay, at the drop-in centers, can someone come by and spend time with the children?
Yes, they can. You can come and you can help out and serve the kids. And the kids at the drop-in center, they get to shower, because that's one thing that they don't usually normally do, because they have to pay for showering. They get to wash their clothes, so we get to do that. But a lot of the kids don't have things to change into, so clothes are always great.
Yeah. So where's the best place to go to find you?
Okay, so the best place is calling.
Yeah,
Can I give my number?
We can start there. Yes. Why not?
You can call me 0771 486 218. We have a website, www.shulefoundation.org, and Shule is SHULE, I would say, and then info@shulefoundation.org is how you can email us.
Yeah, so if you call Jackie, I'm sure she can give you all the information, just in case you want to help out. And of course, the concert, July 20th.
July 20th at the Serena Hotel,
Yeah,
Victoria
tickets are
Hall.
not yet on sale?
Tickets are actually on sale.
Great.
You can either call me for tickets, or you can purchase them at the Serena Hotel at this point.
Fantastic. So make sure you do support this big cause, and congratulations in advance on the 1 year celebration. That is, of course, as we rehabilitate street children. The conversation doesn't have to end here. Of course, this takes time and it's a process, and you and I have to definitely be part of it. We'll take a break. This is Morning at NTV.